All right, folks, welcome back. We just finished doing some early Hendrix with a couple of studio friends with Curtis Knight. If you haven't seen that, go back and check that out. It's definitely worth a listen to. So what we're going to get into here is a little bit of Giles, and Fripp, some McDonald and Giles, and some Peter Sinfield. So some of the early predecessors, early members of what would become King Crimson, and some of the members' side projects, not side projects, but their solo albums, the direction they went after they left King Crimson immediately. So starting with Giles, and Fripp. Let's jump in. So I start off, obviously, with Peter Giles, Michael Giles, and they were formed after put on an advertisement for a singing keyboard player. What they got was Robert Fripp responded, even though he played guitar and didn't sing. What they had that was unique, they had their own private studio, essentially. So they had managed to get a secondhand Revox tape recorder, along with some microphones, headphones, and a metal box filled with attenuators and coaxial socks. That was essentially their mixer. So it did help that they knew a chap called Russell Medcraft, who had once worked at EMI's technical research department and was able to not only maintain the equipment but help calibrate it. So they were essentially able to use a primitive 2-track machine, meaning they could do overdub tracks. So yeah, if you've heard this first album of theirs, which is called The Cheerful Insanity of Giles, and Fripp, came out in 1968. And then some of their, as we'll get into later, some of their recordings, which they didn't put out until 2001. So beginning, it was Robert Fripp, Peter Giles, Michael Giles, whereas Peter and Michael did the majority of the compositions. And as far as what I looked at and listened to some of the songs, they did pretty much some of the standout material of that album was Peter Giles and Michael Giles, as they were already, had been playing together for a while. So they had a good head start. So Robert Fripp had done, obviously he, played great on the material, and I think he wrote, and I'm going to leave it with, before we get into it, on their album, what they had put on the backside was, Giles, and Fripp stand poised to grasp the pinnacle of success, yea, the acme of achievement, to bask in the sunshine of mass adulation and thrill to the ecstasy of millions, or else plummet into the unplumbed depths of ignominy, unloved, unheeded, unloved, and poor. Giles, and Fripp stand poised. So with that, I'll go into a little bit more afterwards, but let's jump right into a bonus track actually on that first album called Under the Sky. Here we go.
Smiling man, tear in your eye, laugh in the morning sun, under the sky, high on the hawthorn tree, bee and butterfly, seek fortune in the leaf, under the
Okay, let me pause that for a second. So yeah, judging from what I can find on the personnel, so I did hear some flute in there, so I'm not sure. This was a bonus track, and this was supposedly prior to other members coming in, including Ian McDonald. So, but I heard the flute, and typically that would usually be Ian McDonald's area. But yeah, so I'm not sure. So I heard acoustic guitar, heard electric guitar, bass, drum, some percussion. That would all be the main rhythm section there, and also the backing vocals on that album was called a group called the Breakaways. So I think that was on there also, unless it was. I think they all did vocals except for Robert Fripp. So both the Giles did backing vocals and lead vocals. So yeah, I'm not sure with the flute if it was Ian McDonald or if it was another person on there, but yeah, so the exact timeline, not 100%, but I know McDonald did come in 1968, so perhaps this one got put on this particular remastered version of the Cheerful Insanity, because he was on some of the later demos in 1968. So anyway, let's get back into it. So yeah, so far it's amazing for a home recording, right? The amount of attention to detail. I mean, that's all it takes. Some good equipment, somebody to maintain it, someone to calibrate it. And but yeah, there's not much what they were able to get rid of. They didn't, with doing overdubs, they were able to calibrate it and not get we'd get the hiss and the degradation of the tape. So that's what's essentially making it sound so clear and crisp. Anyway, let's rewind it a little bit and get back into it. So there's a little bit of Giles Fripp, 1968. That was Under the Sky. And I think, yeah, that might have had Ian McDonald in there still. So that was some of the later, not their early stuff of 1968 with just the three of them, Giles, and Fripp. And that album put out, it said they sold less than 500 copies through Duram label. So the band continued to record. So later it was from Judy Dybel, who had been in the original lineup of Fairport Convention. She was looking to form her own band, but ended up joining Giles, and Fripp, and brought her boyfriend at the time, Ian McDonald, along with her. He also brought with him his friend and lyricist Peter Sinfield into the fold. Dybel did not stick around long, but she did contribute to a number of the songs. As we'll hear later, we're going to hear another version of that same song, Under the Sky, with Judy singing on it. And the mix is a little bit different, so it's interesting to hear that in that sense. So yeah, that's where, basically got two more members. So you had Michael Giles, Robert Fripp, enter Peter Sinfield, and Ian McDonald, and all that's left was Greg Lake on bass and vocals, and you've got the original lineup of King Crimson. So it's amazing how just by happenstance, you got half a band, you got another half, and then yeah, it's just amazing to see how things turn. What happened ended up with Peter Giles was he began losing interest. He'd already been playing for 8 years with his brother, living hand to mouth, so he finally had enough and took a little respite from the band thing. But he ended up coming back, and he played bass on the Wake of Poseidon, King Crimson's second album, and also their 1970 Top of the Pops appearance. And then he was also on the Giles and McDonald debut album, side project that we're going to go into later. And so the complete 1969 recordings from the Giles, and Fripp were released at the end of 2020. As Fripp had said, he thought it was about time that to reassess the early years of the band along with the group Giles, and Fripp, and the group that ultimately led to the latter band's, King Crimson's, formation. So, and there's a lot of other people, a lot of other members that I wanted to point out, but we didn't play that particular song. But there was additional personnel. You had trombone, violins, viola, cello, keyboard, string arrangements, and as I said, backing vocals from the Breakaways on the Giles, and Fripp album. So there was a lot of other personnel to enjoy. So that was 1968. So that was a nice little look on some of the outskirts of King Crimson members at the time. Certainly, you can see their input, how they were used with King Crimson, as musicians. They're individual musicians with their own abilities, their own composition, their own performance abilities. It's an amazing group of people. So anyway, yeah, I'd love to do some more in the future. I'd love to hear it. This is what I'm here for, enjoy it. So again, signing off. Appreciate you guys, and see you in the next one. Take care.